And it actually becomes, Benice, good morning. Good morning. We're on 7 platforms every day. We got to say that, and we have a chat over here that I pay attention to. Okay, we never ignore the chat. Good morning, Jay. Jay is our moderator over here on this platform. So we're talking about self-fulfilling prophecy today. Okay, now how real is this? It's very real. Okay, many people, now this works either positive or negative. Okay, and people who suffer from anxiety, guilt, shame, okay, bring these things upon themselves, either immediately or eventually. Okay, and we're going to go over how it causes anxiety, how it builds anxiety slowly. Okay, so a self-fulfilling prophecy, what is it really? Is it a scientific thing? Yeah, it's a psychological thing. Okay, it's a process in which a belief or expectation, whether true or false, shapes behavior in a way that makes the belief come true. Okay, through your subconscious. How does that work? Okay, so it's like this. It's like belief, perception, behavior, and outcome. So yesterday we were talking about negative feedback loops. Good morning, Sarah. Good morning, Sarah. Sorry to hear about Milo. Yeah. Good morning. Condolences. Sarah lost a pet. I know how that is. My mom lost her pet, her dog, and when that happened, oh boy, it was terrible. Anyway, condolences. Is and we're gonna do this flash sale today over here on this platform, just for you guys. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But self-fulfilling prophecy, what is this? Okay, remember that negative feedback loop we talked about yesterday? Okay, so it's kind of sort of the same, okay? Because your prophecy, so to speak, okay, your self-fulfilling prophecy just says that what you imagine eventually happens. Okay, in the book of Job in the Bible, Job says, "What I fear befalls me." Okay, so that's how they put it in the Bible. Okay, it's not just what you fear; it's what you think. It's your negative self-talk. It's the things that you tell yourself about yourself that's negative, that you eventually believe, because it goes into your subconscious. Okay, step by step. Okay, so how does it work? Well, belief or expectation forms the things that you believe about yourself to be true. Okay, so we're talking about self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, and then so things like I'm gonna fail at this, or I'm not good at this, or yeah, I'm gonna get fired, or oh my wife or girlfriend's gonna leave me. Those things. Okay, and eventually, what happens in the subconscious is that you start performing these actions conducive to, let's say, the breakup in the relationship, let's say the firing at the job. And you'll start doing these actions. Why? Because the subconscious is looking for a way to fulfill this prophecy for you. It's looking for a way to make this happen. This is how powerful you are as a human being. And most people are unaware of this. They're unaware that the pattern exists. You know, what do they say at the very end when it happens? They go, "I knew this was going to happen. Yeah, this is going to, yeah, I knew it." Right? Okay. So your perception filters reality. Okay. We always talk about that. It's your reticular activating system. It filters out what you're not focused on and filters in what you're focused on. Okay. So you start noticing, you start confirming this data that you've put into your mind. Okay, whatever. Like I'm not good enough, or I suck, or whatever it is. Okay. So behavior adjusts automatically, right? Okay. So the process, belief, perception, behavior, and outcome, it's the same as a negative feedback loop. Only in this situation, you you actually become what you think. And this works positive or negative. Okay, so you can have a self-fulfilling prophecy that's positive. I know I'm a winner. Yeah, whatever. And we look at these people, right? We look at people that are very, let's say, overly confident. in my mind, there's no such thing. But I've seen these people, they're overly confident, right? And I knew when I saw them, okay, this is going to turn out. This is going to turn out. The only problem with people that are overly confident is that when they stumble, because everybody stumbles, everybody, I do all the time. But when you stumble, you can't take it like a mortal wound. When you stumble, you can't take it like oh man, I failed. No, no, no. Okay, I have a client that I'm getting over that. I'm getting over it with him. Okay, I'm getting him through that. And it's called celebrate the small wins. Okay, because when you do that, you're sending a message to your subconscious. Okay. And when you stumble, when you fall, you don't take it as seriously. Okay, when I fail at something, I'm like, okay, whatever. Next. And try again. Do I get disappointed? Yeah, of course I get disappointed. But I don't let it seep into my subconscious with a lot of emotion. Okay, maybe I'll be like, whatever. Shake it off, get it out, and move on. Next step. Okay? So it's the same thing with perception. Okay? You become what you believe. So it's important that you think good about this. It's important that you feel good about this. Some of my clients, when I meet them, they can't look in the mirror. They can't look themselves in the eye in the mirror. They feel like, like that. Okay? But when you give yourself a pep talk in the mirror, guess what happens? It goes directly into your subconscious. Why? Because your subconscious recognizes your image over everyone else and your voice over everyone else. Okay? So, what's the psychology behind it? Well, it's confirmation bias, first of all. Okay, you naturally look for evidence. Good morning, user. Good morning. Thank you for coming today. So you naturally look for evidence. Okay, now what would make you think you're a loser? Repetitive losses. Okay, or let's say a string of losses. Do a string of losses constitute a loser? No, it doesn't. Okay, I have a client that I'm working with in Arkansas right now that's going through that. And he actually believed it. Well, God is punishing me. God does not punish. God is love. Okay, we punish through our decisions. Okay, the decisions that we make that backfire or the actions that we perform, okay, that have consequences is our judgment. Okay, but you judge through your subconscious as well. Okay, every action has a result, but when you are articulating these things, it goes into your subconscious. So this is why when you're critical of someone, your subconscious goes, oh, that's what we're doing? We're being critical? And then it happens in repetition. Why? Because your subconscious is repeating. And then what happens? Then you start to criticize more. Then you become more critical, more judgmental. And you get in a habit. I mean, this happens over and over. It starts to happen over and over. And then pretty soon, everybody you look at, I went through this in my 20s. You start judging everything in the negative. And that's that negative feedback loop that we were talking about. So what's the difference between that and the self-prophecy? The self-fulfilling prophecy is when you're telling yourself something about yourself that's negative. Negative self-talk that will eventually become what you're thinking. Okay? And this is why it's important to feel good about yourself, to think in good terms about yourself, to give yourself credit for what you do that's right or that's good. Celebrate the small wins. Okay? So if you're looking for, confirmation, right, on the things that you've accomplished that are good, then you're off to the right start. If you're looking for things that you're doing that are bad, and we're our own worst critic, okay, then if you're doing that, what are you going to do? You're going to find it. Okay, so your subconscious pulls things out of the past, and it's everything that has an emotion tied to it or a strong emotion tied to it. And your subconscious will go, yeah, I remember the time in high school and you failed that big test. Yeah, you remember the time you didn't make it for the football team. Yeah, you remember the time you didn't make it as a cheerleader. And, thank you, Benice. Remember the time you didn't, whatever, right? Your subconscious is giving you evidence. It's creating pathways to the same thing you believe about yourself. Then what happens? Your mind is not neutral, okay? It's selective. Your subconscious. Your subconscious cannot judge. Your subconscious cannot distinguish between fantasy and reality. Okay? But it's selective because you have three states of awareness in here: conscious, subconscious, superconscious. The conscious mind is the selector. It says, okay, we're going to think about this. And if that happens to be, I'm a loser, or I always fail, or I'm not good at this, that kind of stuff. Okay? Now, as soon as you believe that, okay, because it needs to go into the subconscious in repetition. But as soon as you believe it, the subconscious will wash, rinse, repeat. Then what happens? Then it starts creating pathways, okay, towards achieving the same result. This is why teachers' expectations, okay, when you expect things, okay, so teachers have expectations of their students. I have expectations of my clients. Okay, and this is what they call expectation theory. Okay, when you have expectations, what happens? Well, it starts to affect the student or my clients or whatever. Why? Because now there's a target and they start thinking about it. They start considering it. Okay, what's another element to this? Behavioral conditioning. Why? Because the thought brings the emotion, which brings the behavior. First, you get the thought, right? The conscious mind takes the thought, the target. Okay? Your subconscious can sometimes be a little devil. Yeah. Well, it depends on what you're programming it to do. Your subconscious doesn't judge like that, so it won't be the devil by itself. You have to feed it negative thoughts and negative emotions. So first you get the thought, right? That's the conscious mind. Okay, once you apply repetition and emotion to this thought, because the thought will bring emotion. If it's a negative thought, it'll bring negative emotion. If it's a positive thought, it'll bring positive emotion. Right? Then you get the feeling. Now, with feeling and repetition, it goes into your subconscious. Then what happens? Then your subconscious goes, oh, okay, that's what we're working on. All right. And it starts to repeat the process. It starts to create that repetition. And you do it again and again and again. Whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. Okay, so if it's a positive thought about yourself, if it's something good about yourself, it will start to repeat. Repeated thoughts, repeated behaviors, okay, reinforce neural pathways. Neurons that fire together wire together. When the neural pathways are constructed, now you have a new pattern of thinking. And this is what we call epigenetics. Okay? So these studies have been done, and the studies have been done over and over and over. This is why it's important when people get older, right, to learn new processes. You go down to Apple, right, and you see these senior citizens. They're all sitting around the computer, and they're learning how to do their iPhone or how to do their tablet or their laptop or whatever. But this is really, really important for them. I went down to Apple once, and I took a class because I wanted to, just learn how to do it too, right? And I was sitting there, and next to me was this lady, and she must have been at least 94 or 95 years old. And I peeked over like that, just to see how she was doing, like what she if she was following along. And I was so surprised. I was blown away. She was doing everything right. She was following. She was on board. She was mentally strong. Okay. She was very cognizant. So these things are important to do, to constantly rewire your brain. Okay? It's called neuroplasticity. Look it up. It's a thing. Okay? Now, how does this affect your emotional state and physiology? Beliefs trigger emotional responses. The superconscious is more spiritual. Yep, we're getting there. We're getting there. The superconscious is God or universe or however you believe spiritually. You're correct about that, Benice. Yep. Beliefs trigger emotional responses. Thoughts bring emotions. Okay? In repetition of the thoughts with the emotion applied to it goes in your subconscious as a belief. And beliefs trigger more emotional responses. It goes in a circle. Wash, rinse, repeat. Okay, so negative belief, anxiety, tension, stress, those are the emotions. All negative emotions are rooted in fear. If you suffer from anxiety, if you suffer from anything you're afraid of, discomfort, irritation, boredom. People think boredom is just like, well, I have nothing to do. No, boredom is frustration. Okay, I get bored. When I get bored, I get frustrated. Okay, what do? I stop the thought. Just say stop. It'll stop. But you have to switch to something else. Or guess what? Your mind goes right back to the topic. Okay? So if it's a negative belief, it's like negative belief, anxiety, okay, whatever. Could be disappointment, criticism, anger, could be any of those things. Any negative emotion. And then what? Well, then you start to feel that. Then your behavior comes from anxiety. Your behavior, whatever you do, your actions that create results come from fear because it's anxiety, it's stress, it's imbalance. Now, are your decisions going to be good for your actions? No, not really, because you're coming from fear. Or let's say it another way, not as good as if you came from clarity, okay? If you came from relaxation, if you came from calm, if you came from centered, okay, which is what confidence is. Okay, so confidence is a relaxed, centered feeling. Now, if it's a positive thought, what happens? Oh, confidence, relaxation, openness, all of those things. And what happens then? You make good decisions because now you commit a good action because you're relaxed, you're centered, you don't have anxiety. Okay? And then what? Then you make a good decision. When you make a good decision, what do you get in return? You get a good result. It's transactional. Okay, everything is transactional. Everything. If you commit a good action, or let's say a centered action, or a confident action, you get a good result. If you have anxiety and you create a defensive action, you'll get a defensive result. Like attracts like. Okay? So your body then behaves in alignment with the emotional state. Whatever it is, it could be good, it could be bad. Okay, but it's up to you. And this is why when you start, Janice was talking about this on the chat yesterday. So when you dismiss a negative thought, when you say stop and focus on something positive, you get in the habit of saying stop when you get negative thoughts. What does that do? That prevents junk from getting in here. The vocalization process that we do with the vagus nerve and the hormones, the hormonal response, that breaks you free of this. So affirmations, meditation, vocalization, and visualization. Okay, and these things keep you from going back, because you can get pulled out very quickly. The vocalization will pull you out. Energy, frequency, vibration, and velocity. It will separate you. What does it separate you from? From the memory in your parasympathetic nervous system. Why? Because that's where the trauma is stored. That's where the drama is stored. That's where the negative emotions are stored. Everything is in your body. All cells have memory. That's why they call it somatic healing. Somatic refers to the body. Your body absorbs everything, remembers everything, okay? And then the subconscious starts to repeat. Remember now, the subconscious is a culmination of all of your senses, okay? It's not part of your brain, okay? It's everything combined. And the subconscious remembers everything that's put in there in repetition and emotion, okay? So most of your actions are driven by subconscious pattern, 95% subconscious patterns. And some people are sleepwalking. They don't even know it. They don't know. All they know is this is another day, and I gotta go through this again. I gotta go to work again. I gotta make money again. Right? On the weekend, I get 2 days off, sometimes 1 day off. I get 1 day off. What am I gonna do? I'm just gonna sleep all day. Next day, what do? Get up, I gotta go to work again. Okay, if this is how somebody's living, they're sleepwalking. Because they've been conditioned into this. They've been conditioned into it. Okay, they've been conditioned into anxiety. They've been conditioned into stress, and then they think it's normal. Oh, well, this is just the way it is. So I had an attorney last year, right? She's what I call a high-powered professional. She's 3 positions from the top of the largest landowner in Hawaii. A remarkable career. I looked on her LinkedIn. I was like, whoa, this lady is awesome. She's amazing. And she has a business degree. She has a law degree and an MBA. And she told me, she said, my whole career, I've been working out of fear because I didn't want to be poor. So all of that motivation, okay, was stemmed out of fear. So what does that tell you? That tells you high performance anxiety looks exactly like motivation. The average person would look at her career and go, wow, she's motivated. Wow, she gets things done. She achieves degrees. She does all of this stuff. But on the inside, she was running. Okay? So many people are running on the inside. And what does this do when you're running on the inside? What does this do? It creates bad decisions. Bad decisions bring you bad outcomes. Now, do you make good decisions sometimes in anxiety? Sure, of course. But these things are temporary. So it's like, with people that want to manifest more money. Okay, so people that want to manifest, let's say, a raise or additional money or extra money or whatever it is. A lot of times, if they don't have the proper attitude of money, their decisions are temporary. Okay? Because the default always goes back to the subconscious. It always goes back to the 95%. And then what happens? Then you go back to the old program. Okay? So affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. If you want more money, money has to stick. What does that mean? That means you have to change the program in your subconscious, and money comes. Okay? It's not a pipe dream. It's not magic. It's not witchcraft. It's not any of that. Okay, if you're a magician or a witch, no offense, okay? But it's none of that. It's your subconscious. I'm not here to tell you how to believe, but I'm telling you we're all the same in here. Okay? You're not your body. You're not your name. You're that spirit that lives in here. And that spirit is powerful. That energy is powerful. So there's the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. So that's how the subconscious works. Okay? The conscious and the subconscious. The superconscious is God, or higher self, or higher power, or infinite intelligence. What does that have to do with all of this? Well, if you look at a computer, let's do an analogy and compare it to a computer. So your conscious mind is your operating software. Okay, if you have an iPhone, you get iOS updates, right? Okay, so that's your operating software. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Royals. Welcome. Thank you for following. Thank you. Okay, that's your operating software. Your subconscious, okay, underneath it all, okay? You don't even realize it, but your subconscious stores the programs. That's your hard drive, okay? Operating system, hard drive. The superconscious, or God, is the network that we're all plugged into, okay? Because we all come with the same energy, okay? We don't have the same traits, okay? There's genetics, there's all of that stuff, okay? We don't have the same color hair. We don't have the same color skin. But we all have awareness. Awareness in here. Okay? And because you are aware in here, and because when you're, let's say, distracted or conditioned into anxiety, conditioned into fearful emotions. Okay, like worry. Are you worried? Are you worried about the world situation? Are you worried about the, whatever, the government situation in your town, or the price of gas, or whatever you're worried about? Are you worried? Are you worried about your grades in college, that you might get kicked out, or you might not make the test, or whatever it is? Whatever you're worried about, whatever you're fearing about, okay, because worry is a small version of fear. Anxiety is a small undercurrent of fear. Resentment is a small undercurrent of anger. And these things reoccur. Okay, they get triggered. And when you get a trigger, you'll know it, okay? Why is this important to know? Why is this stuff important? Because when you address these things, okay, affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization, if you put my name in any browser, any AI, anything, and put teaching method after it, you'll get everything for free. Okay, you'll get the answers for everything. But when you get rid of these negative emotions, what's left? Neutral. Why is that important? Because you were born that way. You were born in love energy. You ever see an angry baby? You never see an angry baby, right? They're all happy, right? They're born into the world, and then what happens? Life, okay? And then things start to poke the baby, right? Get the baby irritated, whatever, right? That, life. Okay, I'm trying to be funny about it, but yeah, life. I'm trying to be entertaining with it. And things happen to us as human beings. Okay, we have relationships that don't work. We have jobs that don't work. Okay, we have all kinds of stuff that doesn't work. But somatic healing through the voice pulls you out of all this stuff? What does it pull you out of? It pulls you out of the old subconscious programs, because it pulls all of this out of your parasympathetic nervous system, because that's where it's stored. It's separate. It doesn't get rid of it. It separates you from it. Then what happens? Oh, then you can deal with it. Then you see it. Because 95% of your subconscious is wash, rinse, repeat. And you think the wash, rinse, repeat is normal. That attorney I was talking about, she thought that this is just how it is. She had chest pain for years. I said, how long do you have chest pain? I told her, I said, I can get rid of it. And I said, how long did you have chest pain? And she said, I've always had chest pain. And I'm like, ooh, ouch. That poor lady was in her 40s. She was in her late 40s. Her entire career, she had chest pain. She couldn't remember when she didn't have it. That's the kind of stress she went through. But she had a remarkable career. Okay? So high performance anxiety looks exactly like motivation. Exactly. And these people get cheered on by outsiders who just think they're motivated. And we admire them. But when it becomes a problem, that's what we're talking about. Okay, follow along. Okay. So what happens to your life path when this happens? It slows down. Why? Because you're in survival mode. Okay? Survival mode is a problem when it's like this attorney that keeps experiencing fear every day, chest pain every day. Okay? That's not normal. So many of my clients, Janice is one of them. She's usually here. Janice, oh, there's Janice. There's Janice. Speaking of Janice, that was synchronicity. There she is. Janice was saying the other day, you don't know it when you're in it. You only see it when you've been separated from it. And now you can look back inside the box from outside the box. But you need to get out first. And then you need to see the program. Okay, because with this repetition that we go through, okay, all of us, unless you have become aware, awareness is key. Why is awareness key? Because then you'll know when it's beginning to happen. Okay, so Janice was my client, and she did her program. Okay, I put her through my program. Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. Now that she's been pulled out, now that she's been separated, she can tell when it's beginning to happen. And when it's beginning to happen, she knows what to do. Most people don't know what to do because it's normal. Like the attorney, right? I've always been like this, always been like this. I've spent my whole career like this. But survival mode is not funny. It's not healthy. I was just talking to one of my clients who used to be in the military. We had a meeting yesterday at 4 o'clock in the morning at Starbucks because it was raining. We normally walk. We do a walk meeting. And we were sitting there, and he told me something interesting that I did not know. So, let's say high-powered military people, right, with big responsibilities, that kind of stuff. That's what we're talking about. And he goes, these people they're running on adrenaline their whole career. He goes, the life expectancy of a career military person in retirement is 5 years. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, 5 years. Because they go, right? So it's survival mode. Not because they're surviving, but because of the intensity of their jobs, the high stress that they encounter. Boom, 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 boom. All of a sudden they retire and there's nothing. All of a sudden they retire and things stop. Your body goes into shock when that happens. Okay, it takes a lot for your body to adjust. and a lot of them pass away in 5 years. I did not know that. One day maybe I'll look up the stats and share it with you guys. Okay. But yesterday we were talking about, that your negative loop, okay? Establishing that negative loop. Okay, today we're talking about the stories that you tell yourself that become self-fulfilling prophecies. Separation, yeah. So your hey Sherry, welcome. So Sherry, your trauma, your stress, all of these things that go, these negative emotions are stored in your parasympathetic nervous system. And what happens is the vocalization process that we do. In fact, we have that. Yeah, Janice was one of my clients right here. Oops, there. Okay, there we go. Right there. That's Janice. So Janice goes, once aware, you can stop that thought. It's habitual to loop out. Yeah, it becomes habitual. So what she's talking about, Sherry, she's been through my program, and once a client, always a friend. But what Janice is talking about is your parasympathetic nervous system, okay, stores all this stuff, okay, and when it stores all this stuff, you need to be separated from it, okay. Your voice, okay. Let me show you guys. I actually brought the video today. Let me show you guys. What the process looks like, because I know I say it every day, and then people are like, wait, what is this? Okay, here it is. Here, check it out. So this is somatic healing through the voice. We have, yeah, there you go. Okay, you guys over here, you want to look at that? There you go. Okay, so that's an abbreviated version, really, really quick. But what that is, okay, it involves several things. It triggers your oxytocin and endorphins in your brain, which calms internally, okay? It's also vagus nerve stimulation. Look that up, vagus nerve stimulation. But it's done at a very high rate, okay, which is a high strength level. So as the weeks go by, we develop your diaphragm and we develop your pharyngeal muscles. They work together and they create more tension and they create more pressure as you get stronger. So when you start pushing out your voice stronger, it secretes more hormones. Okay, the vagus nerve gets stimulated at a pretty high rate of speed. Okay, we're talking wind velocity. Okay, but when that happens, you start to calm inside, and then you start pulling. Oh, singing is good. Yeah, singing will help, but you need to do it very strongly. Okay, and it separates you. Helps thyroid. I would think so. I'm not sure. I'm not a medical doctor, so yeah. I don't know if it helps thyroid or Hashimoto's disease. But anyway, it separates you from your parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, it separates the drama, separates the stress, separates all that stuff. And pretty soon when you calm, you go, oh, it was that. Oh, it's like that. And then you see, because 95%, like I said, is subconscious. So you're in the wash repeat cycle for whatever it is for you. Okay, whatever that means for you. Okay, now establishing the positive self-fulfilling prophecy, okay, is your belief. Okay, when you say you can do something, when you say you're good at something, I can improve at speaking, I can improve at my job, I can whatever. Okay, improve in my schoolwork, that kind of thing. And then your behavior is what? Well, practice, preparing, right? Study, that kind of stuff. Outcome, better performance, better grades, okay, that kind of thing. Reinforcement, okay, so your reinforcement statement comes last. So your reinforcement is the prophecy, okay? And that has to be something like, I'm getting better, I'm doing better, I can do this, whatever, okay? Thank you, Williams. Oh, Alan. Thank you, Alan. Okay. So, yeah, Jay, Alan over here needs your attention. So, basically, when you have a negative feedback loop, you can reverse it into a positive, and it all starts with the thought. Okay, now you're going to get, after a while of this repetition, and it doesn't need to repeat often. As soon as you've repeated it 4 or 5 times, it starts to go in your subconscious. Okay, but the repetition is one thing, emotion is necessary. So the emotion is important. So you need to put it into your subconscious, and emotion and repetition is the key. Now, after you do this, what happens? You start to go into a positive cycle. Once you start to go into a positive cycle, what happens? It just gets reestablished over and over and over. And pretty soon you get triggers into positive thoughts. Okay, Sarah, who is with us today, yeah, it cancels the triggers. Exactly, exactly. So what happens? Well, like my client Sarah, who is still my client, she's on the chat. Okay, she told me last week she can't even think a negative thought. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey Jesse, thank you Jesse. She told me she can't even think a negative thought. Why is that? Because she gets triggered into positivity. So your reality begins to shift from negative to positive. Now you're having a good life. Okay? And if you guys remember, what I always tell you, the 50th percentile. Okay? So let's say the, positive is here, negative is here, okay? If you just move this 1%, okay, 1%, now the majority of your life, okay, 51%, is positive. Just the repetition of 51%, just living 51%, will get you to 52% automatically. Will push you to 53% with very little effort. Will push you to 55%. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Jesse. Without even thinking about it. Now, 60%, that's a little work. Okay? But in the beginning, you see, people think that, okay, well, I'll just go full on and I'll just focus on this and I'll just change my whole world. That puts a lot of pressure on you, okay, when you do it that way. Okay, when you're striving for 80% positive, like, oh my God, that's a big job. Okay, don't do that. Little at a time. Read the book from James Clear, Atomic Habits. Sherry said, I need this. Having hard day, had to go. No contact with siblings. Yeah. Yeah, I've had to get rid of a lot of family members. Yeah, I did. And you don't really push them away. You just don't contact. You don't bother with them. But yeah, I totally feel you, Sherry. I feel you. You are, oh, they're using you as a scapegoat. Oh, poor thing. Hang in there. Hang in there. No contact is a good thing in that situation. But when you start changing everything to positive from negative, okay, and the way my first mentor did it with me was very sneaky. You know, it was like the first day he goes, well, can you just come to work and like no drama and just like do it all, whatever, do what you got to do. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. And I did in the first day. In the second day, at the end of the first day, he was like, wow, this was, I was like 23, 22 years old, something like that. At the end of the day, he was like, wow, that was impressive. You did really good. You think you can do that tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, whatever, right? And I had a bad attitude. I was like, yeah, whatever. And the next day I did the same thing. At the end of the day, he said, wow, you did really, really good. Like, you think you can do that tomorrow? And then it clicked. I'm like, oh, we're doing one day at a time. Okay. But that one day at a time turned into a week. That week turned into a month, turned into 6 months, turned into a year, turned into 5 years, turned into 10 years. Okay. I am a lot older than 22 now. And it's been working. But it saved me. Okay. He didn't explain it to me like it was my subconscious. And a lot of thought leaders will not tell you this. They have, $5,000 packages to sell you, that kind of thing. Gina, good morning, Gina. I will see you soon, Gina. I see Gina after the live today. And Gina's in Utah. Yeah, I had to let go of a lot of family too. And it wasn't because it wasn't when things like that happen. When you're making positive steps, Sherry, this is what I'll share with you. When you're making positive steps in your life, when you're doing things, when you're accomplishing things. Okay, I was building companies. I have a family of service companies in Honolulu. So, but when you're doing things, okay, and let's say you recognize the toxicity and you have to separate from the toxicity, people think like, whoa, well, yeah, you're too good for us or whatever, right? They think it's because you got ahead and now you're just cutting them off. No, it's because you're living this positive, productive life doing productive things. You can't be productive if you're going in a negative circle. Or if you're living a pessimistic life, it doesn't work. So in that case, you have to just, I wouldn't say no contact, but just separate. Just don't call. Let them call. Don't bother. Just allow whatever is. You don't have to push people out of your life. Just don't contact. Just don't bother. That kind of thing. Okay? Because toxicity is a thing and it brings you down. It brings you down. It's like a Debbie Downer kind of thing, right? Debbie Downer, whatever. I don't know what the term for a guy is, but yeah. Yeah, Gina wishes she was in California. That may happen, Gina. Though they never called. You did the calling. Okay. You did the teaching. Okay. Reaching. Okay, yeah. So don't reach anymore. Don't reach. Don't reach out. Just do your own thing. Focus on you. Focus on building you. Focus on improving your life. Focus on your vibration. Okay. You need to raise your vibration, especially if you've been around toxic people for a long time. Okay. Raise your vibration. So in humans, vibration is mood. Okay. It's not resonance like science. Okay. But raise your vibration. The vocalization exercise that we do. Yeah, we have a flash sale, by the way. $97 sale today. So, and you can go to the link in the bio. Sherry, this will help you out immensely. Go to the link in the bio and sign up, and I'll schedule you. But when you go through that process, it's amazing. It's literally amazing. We only have 5-star reviews. If you want to look at the reviews, it's Here For You Life Coaching on Google. We only have 5-star reviews. Benice, fear is loud and fast, but the superconscious is quiet and calm. Yeah, so the superconscious only works with what's in your subconscious. Okay, so God, okay, hear this, Christians. I have a lot of Christians. Okay, so God only operates in what's in your subconscious. So let's say you're praying for something, but let's say in your subconscious, the negative program is, I'm not worthy, or whatever, right? Or maybe it's a house, and your subconscious is saying, no, nobody in my family's ever had a house, whatever. That's highly unlikely. Okay, doubt and fear, those two things. Okay, God will not be able to do anything about that. Why? Because it's how you believe. Okay? There's verses in the Bible, in Psalms, about this. Okay, I'm not going to put you guys through church or anything. The Holy Spirit is in you. Okay, so whatever you want to call it. You could call it the Holy Spirit. You can call it energy. You can call it spirit. Okay, but that's what it is. You're not your body. You're not your name. You're that energy that lives in here. There's a separation between the body and the spirit. Okay, I'm not going to go into a talk about that right now. Okay, because we're talking about self-fulfilling prophecies. We're talking about the fact that when you think bad about yourself, okay, whether it's a habit, whether it's whatever, and I see these things in my clients because it shows up in their speech when I talk to them, when I first meet them. Okay, None of my clients have it anymore. Uh, Janice on here doesn't have it anymore. Okay. Who else? Let's see. I'm trying to think in real time here. So yeah, Janice is one anyway. She doesn't have that going on anymore. Sarah's another one. She doesn't have that going on anymore. She's been pulled out. I think Sarah's on her last couple of sessions. But yeah, you know, you start forming positive loops, and then you start thinking positive, and then positivity becomes a habit in your subconscious, and all that's necessary is repetition and emotion. Okay, now let me address emotion for a second. So energy is the same. Energy is synonymous with emotion. Okay, because a lot of people tell me, a lot of people talk to me and they message me and they email me and they go, yeah, I want to manifest more money, or I want to attract that job, or I want to whatever, attract that girl, or whatever it is. But I can't really feel like it's already happened because I don't have it, and I don't feel it. So just use some energy, as long as there's no negative intent behind it. Use energy. Okay. If it's money, just go bring money. Okay. I do it a little stronger than that, but yeah. But you can call money. I know it sounds ridiculous. Okay, I know how it sounds. But you can call money. Money's an energy. Your energy. Like attracts like. The only thing that has to happen is this energy has to be conducive to money. Okay? Money is a positive charge. It's currency. Okay? I know that's a little wordplay, but it is. It's energy. It's an energy because it gets circulated. And money is all around you. Money is all over. Okay, so your job is to figure out how to attract that money, either through a service, to a product, to whatever it is. So let me give you a scenario. I haven't done this for a while, okay, but I did this quite a while ago. So you get the thought, right? I need to raise $400, okay? And you're sitting around and you get intuitive thought, and the intuitive thought is, hey, there's a lot of yards in this neighborhood. Maybe I can mow the lawn for people. Maybe I can do that. So you go to a house and you talk to somebody, and they go, yeah, okay. How much? Oh, $50. And you're mowing their lawn. Then you go to another house. Oh, I just did the yard down the street. I was wondering, I could do it for $50. Sure, yeah. Now you've made 100. Okay, if you get enough of them, you've made $400, problem solved. But you need to do something about it. Okay, so there's two kinds of action. There's mental and physical. I do a lot through mental action, just by writing things down. I am so happy and grateful now that, whatever. I have 4 clients, thank you. Jay is a witness to that. She saw me do that the other day. I got in like 5 or 6 clients. It was about 2 weeks ago. Okay, and then I changed my my screensaver. Oops. There we go. Changed my screensaver to that. Okay. It's not magic, it's subconscious. Your subconscious starts to create avenues, and then you get ideas. The superconscious affects the subconscious in the way that it starts opening doors, because we are all connected to the superconscious. Everything is energy. And the only thing necessary is to be on the same vibration or the same frequency. Okay, in human beings, frequency is mood. Okay, keep that in mind. Oh, thank you, Marjan. Oh, welcome back. Good morning. Thank you. You're so sweet. Thank you. You just have to be on the same frequency. Okay? If you're in a crappy mood, you're not going to make more money. Okay? You're going to push things away from you. If you're happy, if you're joyful, okay, if you're in a good mood, or at least neutral, okay, at least not any of the negative emotions. Now you're beginning to be open. Now you're beginning to be receptive. Okay? I can't even tell you. I've done this with guitars. I wrote an affirmation for a guitar. This guy showed up and he said, "Oh, I used to own a guitar store." I'm like, "Really?" And so we had a conversation. He goes, "Yeah, I have guitars in the in storage." He goes, "You want to see some?" I guess he had some extra. He wanted to sell it. I'm like, "Yeah." And he brought it over. He brought it over to the office. Long story short, in a couple of weeks, one of the guitars was mine. I didn't even pay any money for it because we ended up talking about it. And I said, "Well, do you want to continue your services?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "We'll just trade for it." I didn't have to pay any money for it. So if you think that money is the only way to get something, you're suffering from limited thinking. I don't care how much it is. Okay, the story I always say, the story I tell you about. Thank you, Marjan. The story that I always tell you about one of my clients that manifested a new van. Well, it wasn't brand new, right? But it was like 10,000 miles. 10,000 miles on it, right? And she was like, she wrote the affirmation for 2 months. At the 2 month mark, she walks into my office one day and she goes, I can't believe what happened. I'm like, "What happened?" She goes, "Well, one of my good girlfriends, her husband's in the military. He got stationed somewhere, what I forgot where. He got stationed outside of Hawaii, and they have to leave. They can't take their car with them. She has a Dodge Caravan, just like me. It has 10,000 miles on it. She said, I can have it if I just do the registration in my name. Just change the papers." And I'm like, "You see? Do you think she was upset that the van had 10,000 miles on it? No, it was pristine. It was a beautiful van. They kept it in good condition. You see? Don't go thinking money, 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 money. Money is an energy. If you know how to call it, it will come. You're surrounded by money, and you're surrounded by things that represent money. Credit cards, debit cards, whatever. Okay? So you have to open your mind. A mind is like a parachute. It works best when it's open. You can have, do, or be anything you want in life. If you're not where you want to be, it's your thinking. Okay, so self-fulfilling prophecy. You become what you think about yourself. Okay, so change those thoughts. If they're not good, change them. If they're good, you don't need to worry about anything, and you're probably doing well. If you want to adjust things, tweak things, make things better, make things more, whatever. Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. It works all day long, all the time, because you are a spiritual being. Okay, you're not your body, you're not your name, you're that energy that lives in here. Okay, I've got clients today, so I will see you guys later. And welcome all of you if you're here for the first time. Tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Hawaii time, we do it again. We also send more prayers out to the recovery efforts of all the people in Hawaii. And please keep them in your prayers, okay? They're going through a very, very tough time.